19 Cadillacs.
Wait, 19, as in 19.
19.
Yeah.
And that is just the opening bid. I'm looking at a breakdown of a receipt here from our source material that is, honestly, hard to wrap your head around. It includes 2 grapefruit trees.
2 what now?
2 grapefruit trees,
Nice.
specifically flown in from Florida.
You mean whole trees, not just, like, the fruit.
The whole tree.
Right.
Root ball and all.
Yeah.
Apparently, when you have this level of wealth, you don't just want the juice, you want the whole means of production right there in your backyard.
Okay.
Then we have, let's see, $47,000 worth of luxury luggage, 6 Mercedes, 2 Porsches, a speedboat worth over 40 grand.
Of course.
And, this is my favorite part, a truck bought specifically to haul the speedboat.
That sounds less like a shopping list and more like a logistical nightmare.
Oh, and I almost forgot the 16 refrigerators.
16? What are they even putting in them? The grapefruit trees?
Maybe. I mean, it sounds like a hypothetical scenario, right? Like a caricature of some billionaire in a satire.
It does.
But here's the kicker. This isn't fiction. This is a real-world receipt from a ruler of an oil-rich nation, and it's cited directly in the source material we're covering today.
So what was the final damage on a list like that?
The total bill came to $1.5 million US,
Okay.
plus another $200,000 just for shipping.
200 grand just to move the stuff. I mean, that's more than most people's mortgage.
It really sets a specific tone, doesn't it? It's the perfect, if extreme, entry point for what we're unpacking today.
It really is.
So we're looking at a talk titled Wants and Needs, delivered by Pastor Huzikang. And to orient ourselves, this was recorded very recently, January 25th, 2026.
So this is fresh, very current.
Very fresh. And I want to be clear up front, while the source is a sermon, we aren't just talking about theology here. This is really a deep dive into, behavioral economics, human psychology, and that incredibly blurry line between necessity and luxury.
Exactly. We're living in a world that's just driven by consumption, especially now in 2026 with the markets doing what they're doing. And this source material forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question.
Let's just.
At what point does comfort cross the line into complete absurdity?
And to fully appreciate that question, you have to look at where this message is coming from. We're not in a mega church in some wealthy metropolis like New York or Taipei.
No.
We are in Hualien, Taiwan. Specifically, the Beipu Church.
Which changes the context entirely.
It does. It's a small community, maybe 50 or 60 people tops. And they're sitting there in January 2026 watching the stock market explode, hearing about AI booms, and just trying to figure out how to live a balanced life while the world is screaming buy, buy, buy.
So let's go back to that oil ruler for a second, because the pastor uses that story for a very specific reason. It's not just to, gawk at the wealth.
Well, that's just poverty porn.
No, not at all. It's to illustrate a dangerous psychological threshold.
The 19 Cadillacs threshold.
Right. The source references a passage from the book of James chapter 5, to make a larger philosophical point. The argument is that there's a fundamental difference between using wealth to feed yourself, covering your needs.
And using wealth to indulge yourself.
Exactly. Indulge yourself. The source uses this really heavy phrase, that indulging leads to fattening your heart for slaughter.
That's a visceral image. What does that actually mean in a modern context?
Well, think of it like livestock. You can feed a cow to keep it healthy, or you can fatten it up because you intend to consume it. The metaphor suggests that when we cross that line from need to want, we aren't just spending money, we're sort of engaging in a form of self-destruction.
How also?
We're feeding an appetite that, by its very definition, can never be satisfied.
Because there's always a 20th Cadillac.
Precisely. The ruler didn't need 16 refrigerators. He was trying to fill a void with logistics. It's the law of diminishing returns on steroids.
Right. The first refrigerator is a necessity. It keeps your food from spoiling.
But the 16th refrigerator is just a burden. It needs maintenance, electricity, space. The possession ends up owning you.
It's interesting you say that, because there was that one detail in the list that really stuck with me, the grapefruit trees.
For Florida, yeah.
It just highlights how arbitrary our wants can get when money is no object. Like, you just wake up one day and decide, I don't just want a grapefruit, I want the entire tree, and I want it shipped from the other side of the planet.
It represents a total detachment from reality. It's the desire to control the source, not just enjoy the product. And the source sets up this fascinating contrast to counter that kind of madness. The pastor quotes a believer from the Quaker tradition.
And the Quakers are known for simplicity, right?
Radical simplicity. And the quote was, "Tell me what you need and I'll tell you how to live without it."
Wow. That's aggressive.
Yeah.
Tell me what you need and I'll tell you how to live without it. It's almost a taunt.
It is. The ruler says, I want everything. The Quaker says, you actually need almost nothing. It's minimalism weaponized, really.
It forces you to justify every single thing you bring into your life.
And think about the ruler's state of mind. He's in pain because he's constantly chasing the next purchase. He even bought a tracker, which implies he's paranoid about losing all his stuff.
Probably to keep track of the 19 wives and their Cadillacs. Or maybe he lost the speedboat truck.
It's likely. But the Quaker is suggesting that real freedom comes from the opposite direction. If you can live without it, you are free from it. Your so-called needs are actually just habits you've convinced yourself are essential.
So we have this image of extreme global wealth on one hand, the oil ruler, but then the source shifts gears completely. We zoom right in on the reality on the ground in Hualien.
Right, at the Beipu Church. And context is everything here. You have to picture it. Beipu Church is described as a remote or rural church. We aren't talking big budgets or flashy production.
The source mentions they have about 50 to 60 attendees.
Tiny.
Yet, and this is where it gets really interesting, they're not just sitting around, they're running a full-blown media operation.
5 loaves, big refrigerator.
I love that name. 5 loaves, big refrigerator. It's so quirky, but it sticks with you.
It's brilliant branding, actually. It's a reference to the biblical story of feeding the 5,000, the 5 loaves and 2 fish. The whole implication is that they're taking very small resources and multiplying them.
And they are. They're producing podcasts, YouTube content, doing all this work themselves.
And the pastor actually compares the church structure to a company or a factory. He talks about having guidelines, departments, elders, and deacons functioning like managers.
Which is such a fascinating juxtaposition with the oil ruler.
Think about it. The ruler has basically infinite resources, $1.5 million dropped on a whim, and he wastes it on frivolous things that bring him zero peace.
Right.
This small community has very limited resources, hard-won offerings from regular people, and they maximize every single cent for a specific mission.
It's efficiency versus excess.
Exactly. And the source makes a point that they don't look down on themselves for being in a remote area. They actually see their resource constraints as a feature, not a bug. It forces them to be more organized, to train people better. The quote was something like, if we don't know how to do it, we learn.
That's a very entrepreneurial mindset for a rural church. Constraint breeds creativity. But let's get to the economics of this, because the source material dives into a story that I think everyone can relate to.
Oh, the gold story.
The gold story.
Ah, yes. The wedding gold. This is such a classic local economy example, and it carries a really specific weight in Asian culture.
Okay, so here's the scenario laid out in the talk.
Yeah.
A few years back, a church member had a daughter-in-law getting married. In Taiwanese culture, you need gold for the wedding. It's not really optional.
No, it's a cultural necessity. It's part of the ceremonial exchange. You can't just show up with a toaster. It has to be gold.
Exactly. But the price was high at the time. The source says gold was around 10,000 per unit. I'm assuming that's new Taiwan dollars per unit.
Yeah.
And this member was stressed. He was thinking, do I borrow it? Do I rent it? He just did not want to spend the money.
Because it felt like a burden. He saw the price tag and flinched. It wasn't an investment opportunity to him. It was just a bill he didn't want to pay.
But eventually, he bore the pain, as the pastor puts it, and he bought the gold. Because it was a need for the family, he bit the bullet. Now fast forward to January 2026.
And what's the price now?
Over 18,000.
That's nearly double.
So the member comes up to the pastor, super excited, apparently speaking in Taiwanese, basically saying, thank goodness I bought that gold back then. I'm a genius.
Now here's where we have to be really careful with the lesson, because I can hear some listeners thinking, oh, so the lesson is buy gold and get rich.
Right. Is this investment advice?
No, definitely not. And the pastor explicitly pivots away from that interpretation. The lesson isn't about market timing. It's about the distinction between need and speculation.
Break that down for me. Because on the surface, it looks like he speculated and won.
Not quite. See, the member didn't buy the gold because he was gambling on the market. He didn't look at a chart and say, gold is going to the moon. He bought it because it was a genuine need or responsibility he had to fulfill.
And because it was a need, he held on to it. He wasn't trying to flip it the next...
Exactly. If he'd bought it as a speculation, he might have sold it when it went up 10%, or panicked when it dipped 5%. But because it was a need stored as wedding jewelry, he just held it long enough to realize the gain.
So the argument is that fulfilling genuine needs often builds long-term value, whereas just chasing wants or speculations is where people get into trouble.
Which leads us directly to the macroeconomic situation in 2026. And this is really key for you to understand the vibe of this talk.
January 2026. The source mentions the Taiwan stock market has hit 30,000 points.
That is a massive number, historically significant. And the source explicitly credits the AI boom, the technology sector, for driving this. So you have this backdrop where the financial news is screaming, record highs, we're all getting rich.
But the pastor points out a disconnect. He says, look at the street level. Look at traditional businesses.
Yeah.
They aren't feeling that same boom.
And that is the trap. It's the wealth effect. The pastor warns his congregation, and by extension us, don't let the 30,000 points headline trick you into changing your lifestyle. He says the financial markets look glamorous, but that doesn't mean your personal economy is ready for a spending spree.
It's the fear of missing out, right? You see the market going up, so you feel like you should be spending or speculating. You feel like you deserve the 19 Cadillacs because the index is up.
That's it. He explicitly advises against speculation. He says there's a difference between investing, which is careful, planned, often boring, and speculating, which is just gambling because you want quick money.
Don't be kidnapped by your wants. I think that was the sentiment. Just because the index is at 30,000 doesn't mean you suddenly need a new car.
Or a tracker for your speedboat.
Right. So if we aren't buying 19 Cadillacs and we aren't speculating on the stock market bubble, what is the prescription here? How does the source suggest we actually live in 2026?
Well, the source is very practical about this. It's not about living in poverty or taking a vow of silence. It's about redefining need.
He actually gives a list, doesn't he? A list of valid things to spend money on.
He does. And notice the nature of this list. First, children's education.
Okay, that's investing in human capital.
Correct. Second, home maintenance and repair, keeping the roof over your head safe. That's asset preservation.
Makes sense.
Third, future security, which means savings. And fourth, generosity, having enough to help others.
Those are all very unglamorous things. There are no grapefruit trees on that list.
Not a one. But they are the foundations of a stable life. The source argues for a simple or frugal life. But again, let's unpack that word frugal. In this context, it doesn't mean being cheap or miserable.
It means what?
It means not wasting resources on wants, so that you have resources available for the real needs when they come up.
It's about capacity. If you spend all your money on luxury luggage, you can't fix the roof when it leaks.
Exactly. And if you're living simply, you have the margin to be generous. The oil ruler has $1.5 million of stuff, but does he have any margin? Or is he just maintaining his massive overhead? The small church in Hualien has margin because they're disciplined. They can produce media, they can help your community, because they aren't bleeding cash on frivolity.
There's also a spiritual dimension to this that the pastor ends on. He brings up the concept of time.
This was a beautiful point to close on, and it applies whether you're religious or not. He notes that God gives everyone the same amount of time. The billionaire with the Cadillacs has the same 24 hours as the grandmother in that rural church.
But our hearts differ in size.
Right. The goal, according to the source, is to be a faithful worker, to use that time to store value not just in a bank account or a garage full of cars, but in heaven.
And for the secular listener, heaven here can be read as legacy or character or long-term impact.
Yes, it's about what remains when the shopping spree is over. He talks about running the race like Paul the Apostle. It's this idea of endurance. The wants are a distraction from the race. They are the weights you tie to your ankles.
Whereas the needs are the fuel that keeps you moving.
Exactly.
It's funny, looking back at the start of this deep dive. We began with a guy who needed a truck just to carry his boat.
The ultimate absurdity.
And we ended up in a small church in eastern Taiwan talking about fixing the roof and saving for your kids' school.
It really grounds you, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you realize how much noise there is in the economy. Especially with the AI boom and the market hitting 30,000, it's just so easy to get swept up in the hype.
That is the danger of a booming market. It distorts reality. It makes luxuries look like necessities. The source is essentially telling us to put on noise-canceling headphones. Ignore the 30,000 points. Look at your actual life. What do you actually need?
It brings us right back to that Quaker quote. Tell me what you need, and I'll tell you how to live without it.
I think that is the challenge for you, for the listener, today. It's an audit.
Which leads us to our final thought. We always like to leave you with something to chew on.
Right. So here is the challenge based on today's source material. Open your bank statement from the last month, or your credit card bill. Go through it line by line.
And be honest. Don't rationalize.
Brutally honest. How many of those charges were actual needs, things required for your survival, your security, your family's future? And how many were just attempts to fill a want, a momentary itch that, quite frankly, you could have lived without?
Did you buy the grapefruit tree? Or did you just buy the grapefruit?
Exactly. Because if the market turns, and it always does, the only things that will matter are the needs you secured, not the ones you indulged.
A sobering thought for a booming 2026. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
See you next time.